It's our first midterm season here at HBS, and the nervous energy is through the roof, especially for our TOM midterm, which was much harder than expected, even for the engineers. Today, I'm going to break down how grades work at Harvard Business School, so we all know what we're getting ourselves into. In the first semester of the MBA program, we have 6 classes. We already talked about the TOM and LEAD classes in the last video about HBS's famous simulations, and I talked about FRC 3 videos ago when I revealed how much it cost to move from Houston to Boston. And the remaining 3 classes are finance, marketing, and strategy. Each class has a slightly different grading breakdown between class participation, problem sets, quizzes, midterms, and finals, so we're going to talk about that breakdown today. It's also important to keep in the back of your mind how these grade incentives encourage or discourage certain behavior, because in our LEAD class, we learned how to tie incentives to desired outcomes. Broadly speaking, here at HBS, we're also graded on a 4-point scale, except getting a 4 will get you kicked out of the program. So it is the exact opposite of almost every other US college's grading system. Each class is graded on a scale from 1 to 3, with 1 being the best, 2 being average, and 3 being the least best. It is also possible to get a 4, but that is really bad, reserved for those who plagiarize, cheat, or decide to break the academic honor code. We also just got our midterm class participation reviews to give us an indicator of how we're doing in class relative to our peers, and about 25% of the class get 1s and 3s, and about half of the class gets a 2 in each class. These scores aren't set in stone, and they can rise if we are intentional about the quality and quantity of our comments, or fall if we don't prepare or decide to slack off. At the end of the semester, the grades are compiled for each class, resulting in a 1, 2, or 3 for each class. It's not the end of the world if we get a 3, or even 2 3s, but if we get 5 or more 3s between the 2 semesters, or the 12 classes, we call that hitting the screen. You'll get a review by the academic board and put either on an improvement plan or asked to leave the program and return when you're ready. Getting a 4 in any class is an instant eject from the MBA program with no invitation to come back. And on the opposite side of the spectrum, the top 10% get academic honors, also known as Baker Scholars, the same namesake as the Baker Library. Now let's take some time to review each class's grading breakdown from lowest participation percentage to highest participation percentage. Coming in at 40%, we have Strategy, FRC, and TOM. Each one of these classes weigh participation at 40%. In Strategy, we also have quizzes worth 20%, and the final exam is worth 40%. So here, the final and participation grades are weighted equally, and there is no midterm, and the quiz we just had was worth about 20%. The quiz was not too bad. It mirrored the practice quiz, and it was only 7 questions long. Next, we have FRC. That's the same breakdown as Strategy, but instead of a 7-question quiz, the midterm was a whole 22 questions and worth 20%. And no, it was not trivial. And lastly, TOM, with the most grade categories. In addition to the 40% participation grade allocation, the midterm is also worth 20%. We have 5 problem sets worth 5% total, so yes, only 1% per problem set, and the final is worth 35%. The next tier of participation percentage is 45%. Marketing and LEAD have participation as 45% of our overall grade, and both also have an optional midterm worth 0% of our grade. In marketing, we have several quizzes, which are worth a cumulative 15%, and the final exam is worth 40%. In LEAD, the final is worth 45%, and other miscellaneous assignments, such as the simulation, are worth 10%. And the class with the heaviest weighted participation percentage is finance, coming in at 50%. There are 2 midterms worth 10% each, and the final is weighted the least of all the classes, coming in at 30%. Thank goodness, because that test will probably be the most difficult final for me, since I fully expect to have to build a discounted cash flow model from scratch for that final. HBS has a non-grade disclosure policy, so what is even the point of midterms, finals, and assignments? We talked about it before that although it is possible to flunk out, it is very unlikely, so grades are really just a way to facilitate learning and serve as a signal or a benchmark for what we should know compared to what the professors expect us to know. It may seem like the grades don't matter much, but the odds are that if you're a student here at HBS, even if the grade doesn't matter, Low performance is taken just as seriously as if the grades were disclosed. Marketing and lead are interesting because there's an optional case midterm that is literally worth 0% of our grade. So what's the value or point in doing it? The point is to practice under time pressure. All of our finals for all the classes are case finals, meaning we will get a case, analyze it, write about 1,000 to 1,400 words for our recommendation for the protagonist's action plan, and create a couple exhibits. The optional midterms are the only risk-free opportunity to pressure test ourselves in that final exam environment and get feedback from our section mates. And almost everybody does complete it, so it's highly beneficial to suffer through it and practice for the finals, which are worth about 40% of each class. So the finals have the ability to tank your grade from a 1 to a 3 in any given class. And remember, if a student gets too many 3s, that's a problem. And then there's a hodgepodge of other assignments. I've already mentioned the simulations, but we have a smattering of problem sets, pre-class submissions, surveys, minor quizzes. Most of these are graded for accuracy and are a pretty small percentage of our grade, or they're not graded beyond completion, and they are a component of our participation grade. It's important to complete these assignments, especially in classes in which we are not as proficient or strong in. All of these little assignments do add up, and it does become difficult to keep track of all the quizzes and Excel uploads and polls we need to complete before class to add to the class case discussions. Academics at HBS is one of the aspects that makes HBS such a special place. The professors and our section mates are responsible for facilitating our learning, and even though grades are not disclosed, grades and scores are taken quite seriously. I do think that after we exited our first TOM midterm, we emerged from the classroom at least 5% closer to each other, and also another 5% after being beat over the head with the finance quiz and the FRC midterm, which were definitely harder than the practice problems we got. The fact that no one received perfect scores should be a testament to how difficult the exams truly were. Anyway, if you're considering applying to HBS, consider this your warning for what you're signing up for, but don't worry, you'll have plenty of people to help you through, and unlike some other schools, you'll actually learn and become better after having gone through the HBS RC Crucible. Please consider liking and subscribing if you found this video helpful, and if you have any questions, feel free to pop them into the comments section below. Until next time, bye guys!